Hi everybody, this is Charles Hoskinson giving you a brief update about Cardano. I finally come back to Colorado. It's been a long journey. I went from Canada to Barbados, Barbados to South Africa, South Africa to Switzerland, all on business. And I had a great opportunity to meet a lot of really cool people. In Barbados, we had a chance to hang out with the Bit people. In Canada, we had a chance to attend the Futurist Conference and be on a panel with Larry King. In South Africa, we were hanging out with the president's son, Tumelo Ramaphosa, and went on safari at Fala Fala, and also attended his Blockchain Africa conference, which was really an amazing experience and event. And we had a lot of fun, and we met a lot of really interesting people, and then a lot of IOHK and Cardano business in Switzerland. Anyway, unfortunately, I didn't have quite good internet for most of the trip for a variety of reasons, and also I suffered a gout attack while I was on the trip, and so it was kind of interesting trying to hobble around the world while unable to walk properly. But back here in Colorado, and got my allopurinol and my prednisone, and I'm doing okay. And I figured I'd give you guys a brief update on what's going on the Cardano side. So first, this is a very special month in the project history. We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of when Cardano launched to market, and a heck of a lot has changed and happened since that year. So I'll do a special video on the 1-year anniversary to go over all the accomplishments and the major events and how we've gone from kind of an unknown small Asian cryptocurrency to a top 10 cryptocurrency that's on many exchanges, that's world known. It's been really a heck of a ride. A lot of ups, a lot of downs. But at the moment, let's talk a little bit about 1.4 and 1.3.1 and other such things, and a little bit about Prometheus, which is rapidly becoming one of my favorite parts of the Cardano ecosystem. So anyway, first off about 1.3.1. So 1.4 is a humongous update. There's a lot of stuff with it. Structured logging, changes to the way we store data, changes to the wallet backend, the new input selection policy that we're very proud of, and as a consequence, we broke 1.4 into two updates. 1.3.1, which will be shipping sometime this month, and it contains a lot of little fixes here and there. There's an issue with pinning things to the taskbar, causing things not to launch, to address discrimination and other things for the testnet. And these are all features that just couldn't quite get into 1.3, and so we rolled them over. And there are some things that made more sense to ship now instead of trying to put into 1.4. Once it's done, we'll make sure that that's out and then do the dev cutoff for 1.4. And because we have a little extra time to work on 1.4, we can do some added testing. It's a very substantial change, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get out. But we decided actually, because it's such a substantial change, it's a good opportunity to launch the testnet. So what's going to happen is we're going to launch 1.3.1 this month, sometime this month. And then sometime in October, we're going to launch the testnet running 1.4. So early adopters can install a version of Daedalus, which is running 1.4. They can go ahead and report bugs or play with it and let us know what is improved. We'd love to actually see some benchmarks. So in particular, we're interested in memory utilization, how long it takes you to recover a wallet, how long it takes the node to sync. We have internal benchmarks for this, but it would be really cool to see people using the testnet to provide that. We've made a lot of progress with Icarus as well, and Yoroi is coming along. As soon as the testnet support comes out with 1.3.1, Yoroi will enter testnet mode, and the code is actually production quality. It's been security audited by Kadelsky. It's really good Rust code. It's really good JavaScript. We're very happy with what we've done with Icarus and what Amerco has done with Yoroi, and they're starting to build a really good team with that. So we expect that there's going to be a very short layover between the testnet Yoroi and the mainnet Yoroi. So look for that in the coming month or so. And that's probably going to be a great product that a lot of people are very happy with. Second, it gives a little bit of diversity in the wallet ecosystem. So if for whatever reason you just can't get Daedalus to work, and there are some people who are just in this situation, they either have a crummy internet connection or a strange operating system or old computer or weird hardware configuration, and we just can't figure it out. We've looked the logs this way till Sunday. Install the Chrome extension, and that's probably going to give you everything that you need. So we hope that between Yoroi, Icarus, and Daedalus, that you'll be able to, for that small group of people who are still having issues, use the product properly. As for Ledger support, that's kind of interconnected to all of this, and on our end, I think we've done everything we need to do, and we're waiting on a firmware update, and Yoroi is probably going to be the first interface to use Ledger. There's already a well-established way of connecting that via the Web USB standard to an extension. So we'll have some discussions with Emergo, and we think it's probably better on the Chrome side to deploy that than it would be necessarily on the Daedalus side. But the crypto is done. The Rust code is done. It's been audited, and things look pretty good. So we're just waiting on a few updates here and there. But cold storage is coming. So you'll have the cold wallet. You'll have eventually hardware. You'll have Daedalus and Yoroi. We certainly learned a lot. We've actually built a whole QA process, a help desk, a formal release process. We have an exchange newsletter that we send out to all the exchanges. We get certainly a lot of questions from them. We've learned a lot about how to run this type of software and where it's going. And we're starting to get into some very deep discussions about 2019 and where can we take things. So the thing about what we've done research with is that we've kind of had two parallel tracks looking at various innovations. So some innovations revolve around the Ethereum side of the world. So the account stuff, things like Yella, which look like EVM but are better, and that whole smart contract model. And we've launched two testnets, the KEVM testnet and the Yella testnet. We've had a lot of discussions about ways we can improve Yella, for example, making it faster, improving the surface language, working with some particular things to improve the reliability and testing of contracts, both on the dynamic and static analysis side, these types of things. And so we have a pretty good understanding of where we can take that, and it's a really exciting roadmap, and it's something that we can work on collaboratively with Emergo and runtime verification throughout all of 2019. Now, on the other side, the UTXO side, this is something that really hasn't enjoyed as much tender love and care historically in the cryptocurrency space. In the beginning, that's all we had, and because people tended to fork Bitcoin, the UTXO was king. And then accounts came out, and people started moving in that paradigm because conceptually it's a little simpler to work with. A lot of people prefer it. But there's a lot of power with UTXO. And so what we've done is we've rigorously, with Mamel Chavardi and Michael Peyton-Jones and Phil Wadler and Vanessa and Rebecca and others on that team, is we've actually kind of reimagined the UTXO to an extended UTXO model, and we've built an entire smart contract model for that. So we're looking at Plutus and Marlowe in particular. Now on the Marlowe side, Marlowe is like a templating language, and the goal of Marlowe is really about saying I have a collection of financial transactions, and what I want to do is to write those transactions up in a very careful way with a DSL, and because it's a DSL, I'm going to be able to write them in a very concise way, in a very fast way, and I'm going to be able to test and verify that my intent matches what I've actually written. So financial DSLs are nothing new. They've existed for decades. Barclays makes them. There's great papers from Chris Clack. Microsoft has designed some. And we've, of course, being great artists, we've borrowed good ideas across the entire space. So one of our goals for Marlowe moving forward is going to be to try to create kind of like a periodic table of financial elements. So if we look at insurance contracts or derivatives or a lot of these complex financial relationships between entities, they're almost like molecules in that they share common elements. And if you can get to a periodic table, what you can do is implement a base collection of things, and then you can combine these templates together to replicate what a hedge fund or a Wall Street or insurance company would typically do. So that's going to be one of the priorities of the Marlowe project as Marlowe leaves the laboratory and enters production. And the advantage is if we do this correctly, we can prove lots of interesting properties, and these contracts can execute in a very safe environment, and they can seamlessly move between a permissioned private system to a public ledger. And of course, they'll work on our system. Second, with Plutus, Plutus is really our attempt to try to understand that triangle, the client side, the server side, and the blockchain side. So with Ethereum, we always tend to think of this world computer and Web3 and everything is on the blockchain. But the reality is you still need local computation. And the reality is you're probably still going to have a server somewhere along the way that does something for you. If anything, maybe just to match or coordinate or to speed up certain parts of your business logic. So the hope with Plutus is about saying, okay, for the stuff that's going to run locally or on a server, let's do that in Haskell. And there's a model for how to do that. It comes from the template Haskell world. And then for the stuff that needs to run on a blockchain, let's do that in a specialized language that looks like Haskell, but they're both together and they can kind of compile accordingly. So we're really excited to bring this model in because we think it's a more holistic model and it's a better model overall for a lot of applications that people are currently using for smart contracts. And it allows the developer to optimize the experience for people. So that project is in heavy R&D. It's in heavy development. We're seeing weekly great progress coming along. And as we start closing out the year, next year is when we're going to start seeing the extended UTXO model coming and Plutus becoming a powerhouse, especially when we get some very specialized tooling. Because it's a functional language, we can talk about things like quick check, we can talk about things like formal verification, and that tooling is a lot more powerful than the Solidity counterpart and so forth. So if your goal is the correctness of the code, and if your goal is getting it right the first time always, this is the model that we think people are going to be very excited about. In addition, we finished the specification of chimeric ledgers and chimeric assets. One of our partners, Emergo, did a great video on chimeric ledgers and assets. We'd highly recommend you watch that if you want to know more about it. But basically, it's kind of a broadening of the notion of what a native asset needs to look like. We have standards like ERC 721 and ERC 20, and these are great standards, and there's certainly a lot of people following them. But it would be nice to have a broader conversation about, well, when I want to issue an asset, what does that mean for the environment it lives in, the accounting models it lives in, the fee structure it lives in, and so forth? And can we get better assets for people who are issuing? So highly recommend you guys check that out. But we have actually finished the spec for that, and we have a really good idea of what the implementation is going to look like for it. And we're really excited, especially to embed that in a UTXO model, because there's some great scalability advantages that we can leverage when you're thinking along those lines for a variety of reasons. So there's a lot of innovation that's leaving the lab and it's entering into production. I think the crown jewel of everything we've done is Ouroboros. And, there's many flavors of Ouroboros. There's what we came up with in 2016, and then the practical side of it, Prouse and Genesis. And we've now even recently written an internal paper, which will be published soon, on Byzantine fault-tolerant protocol, a BFT protocol that is inspired by Ouroboros that is complementary to Ouroboros. So you have this notion of eventual consistency or eventual finality. So that's what Bitcoin has brought, and most of the cryptocurrency protocols follow that. But lately, looking at the Casper dialogue and the EOS dialogue, a lot of people seem to want to have that instant finality that BFT provides. So if that's the case, it actually makes sense to lay both protocols on top of each other and to allow a person to, based on the fee model and the transaction type, decide whether they want to go through a BFT routing or through the eventual finality routing. And basically these two options can be very complementary to each other. So we have a base protocol for that, and later analysis is going to gradually pull these things in, and then we can use it for a variety of things that can optimize performance and improve our ability to use sidechains and so forth. So really Ouroboros has come along a huge way. We understand the network side of it incredibly well. We understand a lot about this, where the security comes from and how to deploy it and build it. And now we're getting into the fine details about trade-offs and implementation. And as we get closer to Shelley, we're going to continue walking down this road. But what's also really encouraging about the research we've done is that we see a lot of research competition that's occurring. With Algorand and Thunderella and other protocols, there are a lot of prominent scientists and prominent projects that are taking a really rigorous approach to proof of stake seriously, and they're publishing great papers, and they have great engineers behind them. The advantage of that is we can learn from each other. So even if we make a misstep or they make a misstep, collectively, we're probably going to all get it done. So I think the future of proof of stake looks really good. In addition, the research has really shown us some things about decentralization which are quite nice. For example, we think that when we do get to decentralization, we should have at least 1,000 stake pools comfortably, and the network will run just fine. So that bodes very well when those numbers increase, especially as we begin to embrace sharding, and it's advantageous to have more than less. As of always, stake pools are optional. You can, of course, stake with your own ADA if you want, or delegate it. That's always been a decision. So that's the difference between us and a classical DPoS style protocol. But the very fact that we can launch with an idea of 1,000 when others are doing 21 or 101 is a really great improvement. It tells you something about how decentralized we can make these systems over time. Also, we have a paper that we've released. It's the first paper of its kind, which actually looks at the game theory of stake pools and has a discussion about what are the incentives and so forth. We submitted that paper to WINE 2018, which is a major game theory conference, the intersection of algorithms and game theory. So look for that as well. We'll make some more announcements towards the end of the month on the 1-year anniversary, and we'll make some decisions about where to go on certain things. But we actually do have 3 development teams and 3 code bases that are relevant to Cardano. There's the Rust Prometheus project, there's the Scala Mantis project, and then, of course, there's the classical Haskell project, and they're all kind of right now doing different things and validating different things, and they're moving in parallel, some faster than others. Prometheus, for example, is our fastest moving project, despite it having a small team. I got a demo this Wednesday where we actually had a command line client. Prometheus is kind of like the Rust Cardano is kind of like the expert mode of our client, where you can, instead of just using the APIs to do things, you can break things down step by step. And we're going to do a lot of cool videos actually showing what I mean by that. And I think you guys are going to, especially the hackers amongst you, are going to have a lot of fun there. It's also our first foray into open source development, where we really open up the project and try to get a lot of community collaboration. On the Scala side, we've had a huge amount of great innovation and discussions. We've learned a huge amount about building these systems, and we have great progress on the enterprise side. In fact, I think our slogan is the blockchainless blockchain there, and do for data what Bitcoin did for money. So they're having a heck of a lot of fun under Bruno Paleo's leadership, and our hope is to try to port over some of those lessons into the greater Cardano ecosystem. So more announcements to come. But 1.3.1 sometime this month, and 1.4's testnet should be out in October. We'd love for you guys to try it out, play with it. It's such a big update, it's probably wise to burn it in a little bit with the testnet. We also have to do a lot of heavy lifting to deploy it to the exchange partners and other people, just to make sure that that migration works perfectly, because we're doing some things very differently with that update. In addition to that, Africa is really a great marketplace for us, and IOHK is starting to pursue more of a Pan-African strategy. Our Director of African Operations is currently in Uganda, going to go to Angola next, and he's been running her all around, and there's just an overwhelming amount of pilots and excitement, a lot of desires to tokenize tons of things, and we see there's a great great opportunity both on the ICO and STO side. So we think that as our capabilities enhance, we'll have an easy way of saturating those capabilities into the Cardano pipeline. As a final point, the Daedalus team is really starting to make some great progress on our DApp model. So Daedalus and Cardano Wallet kind of feel like they're the same thing, but always we've viewed Daedalus as an application platform. It's almost like Google Play or the App Store, the iOS App Store, Chrome or something like that. It's this environment where you can deploy apps to and install them with one-click install. Now, we're not there yet, but we have thought a lot about how that model is going to work and what we're doing with that model. And come October and throughout September, we're actually going to start doing internal demos demonstrating how to do these types of things. So as we exit this year, we're going to start seeing an increasing separation between Cardano Wallet, so the Haskell wallet that we've written and deployed on top of Daedalus, and Daedalus, the platform itself. And that's just in time for when we're going to start pulling these types of things into our testnets for dApp development. And our hope is to have a different way of deploying dApps, where if you're a dApp developer, you can have one-click install for your user in a centralized app store, and all that client-side code and experience is right there. It connects to the blockchain of your choice, and it's a safe environment because it's sandboxed and it has some great security properties to it. So we'll make some specific announcements about that as we get closer to the end of the year, but it's going to be a big priority of ours in 2019. So anyway, it's been a long ride. It's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. I know the markets have always been hard, and it's frustrating at times when you see people say things like Goldman Sachs is shorting here, doing this here, and it knocks off 10% off the market, even though it's not even true, and things like that. But at the end of the day, remember that these are short-term blips in a broader, longer time horizon. The reality is that if this technology is good, it's better 5 years from now than it is today. And if it's going to be useful and change people's lives, if you change billions of people's lives, you have a big environment. You have a very big ecosystem. And that's what we're going for, and that's what we're trying to do, and frankly, a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space are trying to do. The problem is the market's got a little ahead of our progress collectively as an ecosystem, and expectations were a bit inflated. And when that occurs, you have a pullback. But just like the dot-com bust didn't kill Amazon and Google and end the internet, and we now have amazing experiences because people stuck with it, we firmly believe that our best days are ahead of us. So things will get better, things will improve, and certainly we've seen it internally, we've seen it externally, and I think the fundamentals of our ecosystem and marketplace are quite good. And I think that Cardano's best days are ahead of it as well. We'll have more challenges in the future. There's going to be a lot more ups and downs. But we every month get a bit better. We learn a little bit more. We get our processes refined a bit more. And we're overall pretty excited and pretty happy. Furthermore, we see real innovation. We see great ideas flowing, and we see some people that a year or two ago didn't really understand or care much about the cryptocurrency space, despite their tremendous academic merit and engineering skills, now fully invested in the space. And when you're able to bring a great team of scientists together and a great team of engineers together and give them the time and the freedom to dream and the time and the freedom to do amazing things, surprisingly enough, eventually they start doing that. And we're starting to really see that in our organization, and we're starting to really see that within our community. So anyway, just a brief update, and thank you guys so much for your patience and your understanding. Let us know about the updates. Keep the bug reports coming in. Keep hungry, and please do play around with Rust Cardano. It's already on the GitHub. You can, if you're experienced with Rust, you can actually have a command line client right now. Have some fun with it. Some videos are coming there, and look forward to Yoroi and everything they're doing there. I think actually Emergo is probably going to take Yoroi in a mobile direction, so in very short order they might be able to actually start producing mobile experiences in addition to Chrome experience. So that's going to be a lot of fun too. All right, that's all I have to say now. I'll see you guys towards the end of the month for the 1-year anniversary. And for those who are following my travel schedule, I'll be in Korea next week for the ETC Summit, and that's going to be fun. And then after that, I'll be at a major Japanese summit with the FSA come towards the end of the month in Tokyo. So if you happen to be in those necks of the woods, I'll be happy to see you, shake your hand, and hear your comments, positive or negative. Cheers.